let's see here. You got a call to order? And we'll take a roll call of the mail. Let's do this, salute the flag. Is everybody up for that? Yeah.
Sydney.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Roll call the members we have. We have Tom McLaughlin, I'm the chair. We got David Kent, the vice chair. Butch Cushing. Present. And Stephanie Holder.
Present.
Okay. I wanted to make an announcement to all of our TV audience and people turning in just to watch this meeting. We're supposed to be a 5-member board, and we only have 4 members. And that can make it difficult for sometimes if one person isn't here, it can be very tricky for the applicants, and we can't really perform the service we're supposed to. So if anybody has an inkling to, be on this board, I don't think the gate is really high. It does take a particular kind of interest, but it might apply to you, or if you know somebody else who would be interested in that, or you think might be interested, you can just have them call June, and I'm sure she'd be glad to kind of give them an idea what's involved. And anyhow, I appreciate that. We could use to get some more members, and Stephanie's our most recent member. The rest of us, well, a couple of us have been on for quite a few years. Thank you. Okay, review of minutes of August 3rd. Did everybody get to read the minutes of August 3rd? Does anybody want to make any notes or make a motion to approve the minutes?
I was absent.
You were absent? Okay.
Go ahead, I'll move it.
You were absent? You want to make?
I'll move.
You'll make that motion? Okay,
Second
Dave,
it.
Butch, you want a second?
Yep.
And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, and that's done. Any unfinished business from last time we met?
Nope.
No? Great. Well, we'll move on to an application from Michael and Wanda Power for an equitable waiver of dimensional requirement for a waiver of the requirements of Article 304, area dimensions of the Town of Plymouth zoning ordinance to permit a single-family home within the side setback area at 17 Point of View Drive in Plymouth, PID 20-032-006. Property lies in the single-family residential zone. Is there anybody here to speak for Mr. and Ms. Power? Hey, come on right up. We'd love to see you. You can go right to the podium there.
Hi,
How are you, Mrs. Power?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. What can we help you out with here?
Well, we just recently determined that the north front corner of our garage is 2.5 feet closer to the property line than it should be. We determined that because the property next door to us on the north side of ours was recently purchased by Dan and Christine Marion, and they just had it surveyed, and their survey seems to disagree with the survey that Dave Sanborn, who built the house that we purchased, his survey, he built the property based on his survey. And the new survey seems to disagree with the old survey by a couple feet. So we'd like to get everything legal
Okay.
and not have any problems should we ever want to sell the property. So that's why we're requesting this waiver.
Very nice. So you just want to be in compliance?
Right.
There's no thing that you can't get a building permit or anything else?
No, the house
Okay.
is, we've been living there
Thank you
for
very much, ma'am. Let's see what
6.5
we can
years.
do. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Does anybody have any questions of the applicant?
I do. Have you had a discussion with your neighbor?
Yes, we've spoken to the Marians. They have absolutely no problem with it. It doesn't seem to be an issue at all with them. They're building a house presently, and their house is way beyond where we are, so it's not going to be an issue, even where their driveway is or anything. It's,
Thank you.
so.
And this is a development. It's broken up to a lot of lots. I'm just kind of curious. So you bought this property from Dave?
Yes, Dave Sanborn was in the process of building the house when we purchased it, and it was already, I'd say, 2/3 constructed when we saw it and purchased it while he was constructing it, and he finished it for us.
Okay. Now, and Dave bought the property from whoever's developed this.
Dave bought, as far as I understand it, Dave bought the property from the person who owned the lot,
Oh,
who
okay.
was a private person. Somebody had already purchased the lot. Dave bought the lot from them, and he was building the house on spec.
So I'm just kind of curious who did the original layout of all the plots. I wonder who did the surveying. for the-
As far as I know, it was the Hiltz construction.
Hiltz Development, yep.
Hiltz Development that surveyed everything, and they laid out all the lots.
Yeah.
And I know Dave had, what was his name? John March,
Yeah.
survey the property, and he put the house in where it is based on John March's survey.
Right. Has there been anybody else that's had any problems, do you know of, with their property lines and stuff? like that?
Not that I'm aware of, but then different people have been using different surveyors when they
Right.
are building, so it seems to be.
So, yes, all right. So the neighbor that's moving next door here, he resurveyed his lot, and that's what they came.
Yes, they surveyed the property prior to purchasing the lot and building, and their survey disagreed, obviously, with the survey that Dave Sanborn had.
And your neighbor that you said didn't have any problem with it?
No, they have no problem with it at all. We've been in contact with them, and once we found that out, we contacted them and discussed everything with them.
So how many feet are we talking?
It's about 2.5 feet.
Oh, 2.5 feet.
It's 12, about 12 feet from the property line instead of 15 feet. Just that front corner. Everything else is fine. It's just the front corner of the garage.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I guess I gotta ask this.
Okay.
The cost of correcting this mistake would be prohibitive?
We'd have to remove the garage.
Okay, that's prohibitive, yeah.
That's pretty expensive.
That's. Okay, any other?
Do we have a letter or anything saying from the neighbor that this wouldn't be an issue or anything?
They were notified, I think, right? It did
They
say
were
in there that the butters were notified.
They did not specifically write anything on this, but I do know that they are aware of it, because I have talked to them about another issue, something unrelated to this, but,
Okay.
yeah, I know that have met the powers and,
Yes, we've
Discuss with them.
spoken to them several times. They've been at our house,
All right.
had them over.
I think because they have been legally notified that we can assume, I would imagine that they're not, again, opposed to it because they haven't submitted any evidence of that.
Yeah, they contacted us after they got the notice, and they said they had no problem with anything.
Oh, great. June?
I can help answer a couple of the questions that were raised. So, the subdivision plan, when a subdivision's done, it has to get to the registry of deeds to be, the final recording of the plan is what kind of finishes the subdivision. So I just was looking up the plan for this subdivision. It's the old Frontenac, the third phase of the old Frontenac up at the top. And one thing that was kind of interesting is the current survey that the neighbors did this spring or summer matches the plan. It seemed to better match while I don't have a copy of it, it matched the location of the lot on the survey, the original subdivision plan. So for some reason, this other survey that the builder did seemed to come up with something different, and we don't know why. I mean, I know that he was a licensed surveyor, but sometimes who knows? So it's kind of like we have the original subdivision plan, and it's my understanding that the most recent survey kind of matches that. And then, so because the other one had it in the line in a different place, that ended up with this setback issue. So if they'd gone by the original survey, which is really what the tax map shows, which is this diagram that they submitted with the building permit, showing it in compliance, so the town thought it was in compliance.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, they show 20 feet.
You gotta remember on these things, that just the ink line sometime is equal to a foot or so.
yeah.
Anyhow, is that good?
Yep, and if you really want, I got the original surveyor is on this plan, but it's neither one of these parties, I don't believe, anyway.
Okay. Great. I guess we're all set. Thank you this time. You can go.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, does anybody have any comment or anything they want to say here? Before we move on to this equitable waiver of dimension requirements.
Do we make findings like we do for other applications?
Well, we can always have findings of facts. They're like freehand. You want to do those? I think you guys pulled out a few of them.
Yep.
Okay, so findings of facts?
Maybe the current owners, when did they buy this house? Was it
2014.
2014?
Yeah.
They bought the property in good faith after it had been built, believing it was properly situated.
Yes.
Three. There's no conflict here. It's only for, to set the record straight. How's that? She only wants to be in compliance. It's only compliance issue, no conflict.
Well, it's not in compliance now.
Yeah, but,
I think we have to make a finding that it's not in compliance.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Their goal is,
Not in compliance, but
That's
there's no
smart.
conflict. How's that? Okay, any other?
You have to say something about the diminution of value. There's been no evidence that anybody's property value is gonna be lessened.
Okay,
The only one, I mean, moving the garage is not really possible, but, you know, I don't know that
Oh,
we
yeah.
talked about, could they buy a couple of feet from their neighbor? I don't know if
Well,
that happens ever, or how expensive that would be. but-
sometimes that's what you'd have to do. Sometimes it go to, anyhow,
Yeah.
we're not gonna talk about that. Wait a minute, what did you just say? You just had one there. What was it? That compliance would require moving the building.
Moving the building, yeah.
You like that one?
Or buying,
Which?
or buying property, but, yeah, moving the garage.
Unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Probably not just moving it, right, because that kind of stuff isn't gonna move, but tear it down and rebuild it.
Oh, there you go. That's right.
That was
Make the
what
finding that
they'd have
there's
to
no
do.
evidence anybody's property value is gonna suffer.
I did, no evidence of diminution of value. Okay, that gives us
Neighbor
five.
does-
Which?
Neighbor doesn't have a problem with it? We put that down?
What?
Would you put that down?
Should.
Yeah. Neighbor doesn't have a problem with it? the neighbor-
Oh, yeah, no complaint.
That, currently it doesn't constitute a public or private nuisance, right?
What?
There's no, it's not constituting a public nuisance.
Oh,
or
yeah.
Private nuisance. You know, the fact that they're within the setback, right, that it's not a nuisance to the neighbors.
7, not a nuisance.
We have to make a finding that no members of the public were present? Other than the
Sure, why not?
Other than my daughter
That's
who's
it.
not listening.
Okay,
can I make a,
so, you like,
I don't think you officially opened a public hearing for this.
oh, okay, so, there we go. So, we'll close that, her presentation and open the public hearing. Nobody here to say anything. You right? Close the public hearing.
I can make one more comment.
Okay,
Just to be, so on the staff report that I gave you, this is a different type of, well, you've gone through these facts, but there's just 4 criteria that have to be met.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure you understood that.
I was just gonna read those through.
Yes.
Perfect.
So should
Okay.
we vote on each of these four facts, four things, right? Okay.
Oh, we can do that. Okay, I'll read the whole thing here. When a lot of subdivision of land and structure upon is discovered to be in violation of physical layout or dimensional requirement imposed by the zoning ordinance enacted pursuant to RSA 674.16, the zoning board of adjustment shall, upon application by and the burden of proof on the property owner, grant an equitable waiver from the requirement, if and only if the board makes all the following findings. 1, A, that the violation was not noticed or discovered by any owner, former owner, owner's agent, or representative or municipal official after a structure in violation had been substantially completed, or until after a lot or other division of land in violation had been subdivided by conveyance to a bona fide purchaser.
Legal language. True.
True?
True.
True?
True.
Okay, that's true. I believe that too. B, that the violation was not an outcome of ignorance of the law or ordinance, failure to inquire, obfuscation, misrepresentation, or bad faith on the part of any owner, owner's agent, or representative, but was instead caused by an error, a good faith error in measurement or calculation made by the owner or owner's agent, or by an error in an ordinance interpretation or the applicability made by a municipal official in the process of issuing a permit over which that authority.
True.
True?
True.
True.
Okay. That the physical or dimensional violation does not constitute a public or private nuisance. We got that right. Very good. Notice, nor diminish the value or of other property in the area, nor interfere or adversely affect any present or permissible future uses of any such property.
True.
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 That due to the degree of past construction or investment made in ignorance of the facts constituting the violation, the cost of the correction so far outweighs any public benefit to be gained that it would be inequitable to require the violation to be corrected.
True.
True.
Yep. Our findings of facts certainly weigh this out. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Yeah, is all in favor to approve
Second. Seconded.
seconded? Okay, all in favor to approve the application as presented?
Aye.
Aye.
And then the application? There we go. It's approved. Great. So that was Stephanie and Dave. Okay.
Which was the seconder?
Yeah, it was Butch who seconded that.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
That's
I
okay.
thought I put it Stephanie and Dave.
So the next step is I'll write a notice, official notice of decision, and Tom will get that signed and we'll email that to you. in a few days.
That's that. Okay,
Thanks for keeping us organized, Tom.
did good.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening. Okay. There we go. New business. December date. Did you want to act on this other with the school here?
Let's do it next under communications received.
Oh, okay. So the date of December meeting, what's that all about?
So our December zoning board meeting is scheduled for the first Tuesday, which is the 7th of December. But we have one member who's planning on is being out of town. So we know that we would only have 3 members, and we do anticipate having an application or maybe 3 applications from one property owner for 3 different properties here in town. So they have been, I could come out and say it. So the applicant potentially will be George Kirk. Our code enforcement officer has been working with him on really the 3 properties in town that he owns, 1 on 3A and there's 2 on Tenny Mountain Highway, to try to gain some compliance. And while Mr. Kirk has done some work to address a few issues on the properties, it's just, we felt that there needed to be additional steps taken that are not happening fast enough. So the code enforcement officer has given him a letter spelling out a few things and asking that he apply address some of the violations on the property. The next step with him an option is to either to appeal the decision of the code enforcement officer and or apply to see if this board will do some things so he will become into compliance if there was a granting of a special exception or a variance, okay? So might need to apply, it's up to him. The deadline, I believe, is November 23rd for that December 7th meeting. So we don't know what he's gonna do. But we do know that you would only have 3 members at best available. So my suggestion was if you wanted to move the meeting another week out to December 14th, we can just let him know, and we can change that date by just posting it, and we've got plenty of time to inform
Yeah,
that.
I like
Or
that.
we can not have a meeting and postpone until January, but
Yep.
I think it's better, if he does bring forward an application by that deadline, we can just move the meeting out a week and then, because we should act on an application, I think it's within 30 days of receiving it, so
Yeah.
probably a better plan if you all are available on the 14th, to just move the meeting.
I'm available. How's the rest?
That's a Tuesday, right?
Yeah? Yeah, great. That's good. We'll have the
Okay,
4th board that we have.
so December 14th at 7 PM. You guys want to keep it at 7, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Works, okay. Planning board meets at 6:30, so I get mixed up sometimes which
Oh,
meeting
okay,
is which. But
okay.
I'll get that posted and
Very good. Let's hope
get it on the
that,
website and all that and let him know.
that works out.
Thank you, June.
Communications received. We have a letter. Hey, June, you want to explain this and you speak?
Sure, so this came yesterday in the mail. We got this letter
Oh, yeah.
for the Mountain Village Charter Schools, and since we are meeting tonight, I thought we should address it. So hopefully you had a chance to read it. If not, I can kind of explain what's going on here. Basically, and I think I put this in the email to you when I scanned a copy and emailed it to you before the meeting here. The Mountain Village Charter School was granted a special exception by this board back in, and I gave you a hard copy here of the notice of decision. So it was in December 3rd, 2019, a special exception for operating an educational establishment on a property on Tenny Mountain Highway that they have purchased. They also had applied early in 2020 to the planning board for site plan review because of the nature of the non-residential aspect of this development. So that planning board granted that site plan review approval back at that time. And what's happened is our site plan review regulations say they have a year to make some kind of active and substantial development. And all that's happened is a temporary driveway for logging purposes, and then some cutting has happened. They've logged the site, but they haven't made any real investment of resources into it, because they probably got money for the logging, for the wood.
Yeah.
So in terms of really, the driveway permit is temporary just for the logging. It's not an official driveway. They haven't done any site work yet.
No substantial.
Yeah, they haven't vested the site basically
Yeah.
by doing enough. So they came to the planning board and requested an extension, which the board did decide to grant because of some of the reasons that they've given, similar reasons that they gave in the letter to you. Is about they really got tried to get started in spring of 2020 with COVID and, the things that they've outlined here. So in this process, I said, well, hey, you need to also get your special exception also is expiring this December. So when the zoning ordinance gives this provision that within 30 days of it expiring, they need to write a letter asking for, they've asked for an extension, but the problem is the zoning ordinance requires a public hearing in order to do that. Planning board also requires it, but they can waive their own regulations, and that's what they decided to do. You can't really waive the zoning regulations, so I did not print that out, but it was in my email, so I can just find that if you give me a second here.
So should we put it on the agenda for December?
So we have time, yeah. But they
That's all
have
we
to-
can do.
That's the best we can do, and then we'd have to notice for now December 14th, you just change the meeting date. We can they would have to pay either notice, so I'll get back in touch with them and get the abutter list and get them
Yeah.
to pay the notices, and we'll just schedule that for the 14th to hear the merits of why you feel they can grant another. They're asking for an extension for 2 years, but just note that the planning board's extension is only really for 1 year.
I saw that.
For
What's that
2022.
all about?
It was about the fact that they hadn't really done enough.
But
you
there
know.
was a pandemic.
But again, that's what that board decided for a bunch of reasons.
I see, I'm sorry.
You know, so-
Okay, I understand
And they
that.
want to see some reporting of that they are making some progress over that
I
next
see.
year.
Do we need a motion to put it on the agenda?
No,
I think we could just do it because that's what the ordinance says to do, but they have not submitted the fees for it, so if they don't, then they have to do that ahead of time. So I'll make sure they get in touch with that,
Excellent.
okay?
Good. Anything else? Communications, other business? Do-do-do. What else we got?
Something else, wasn't it?
I think that was it.
And everything, make a motion to adjourn?
Happily
moved.
second that. And all those in favor?
My favorite motion of the night.
Very, very good.